All right, here's something we don't talk about enough. The fight that you keep having is a health problem. Every unfinished argument, it's actually a low grade stressor that your body never gets to put down. And it shows up as like 3 a.m. wake ups or the tight chest or the exhaustion that you just can't explain. And my guest today built a game that helps people actually close those fights out in minutes. No fuss, no drama. Stay tuned. Welcome to the True Wellness Podcast with Dr. Z, where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. Z, and each week I will bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Now, let's get started. On this show, we took all the time about the hidden things that keeping your nervous system stuck in overdrive, right? The chronic unresolved conflicts. That's one of the biggest things that nobody names. It gets like stepped over. But when a disagreement never actually closes, your body, it stays braced for it, sometimes for years. And my guest today, Rod Jeter, he built something to fix exactly that. You see, he's a conflict resolution coach and the creator of Why It's a Game with a very simple promise. All you have to do is play to win. And, I'll let Rod tell his story, but he recognized that, traditional counseling, it fell short. And so he stopped trying to talk people out of their conflict and actually built a way to walk them through one instead. So couples, they're settling fights that they've carried on for decades in a matter of minutes. And his tagline, no fuss, no drama. And now too, he's taking it into the workplace. So those of you who got all these conflicts and stress at works, we are going to dive into that and hear too more, Rod, about your corporate stress pilot program. So Rod, welcome. I'm so glad to have you on True Wellness with Dr. Z today for this very important conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Z.
So let's start at the ground. Like, where did Why Be Angry come from?
So, several years ago, me and my now ex-wife were kicked out of marriage counseling. Yep.
Kicked out.
Yep. Kicked out after 5 weeks after 5 sessions with really no progress. And I just knew there had to be a better way. So I was like, Lord, if I'm going to stay in this relationship, I need to see some progress right now. And I started working on something, and I can't even take credit for it because it works every time. I think God just blessed me with it. So I came up with this game. So when couples have something they disagree about, instead of kicking it under the rug or not talking about it at all or fussing about it for decades, I mean, decades, they just play the game and it helps them resolve it almost every time in less than an hour. I'm still amazed every time I play the game, coach the game. Yeah.
I love that. You got like that divine inspiration to
Yeah.
create something that's really making a change out in the world. And
Uh,
I think that's important because Rod, so many of my clients, so many of the people that I work with, Rod, they have a lot of stress. And oftentimes that stress can come from conflicts that they're having with their spouse or at work or with a friend or with a family member. And people don't even realize, like, it's like, you just kind of carrying this thing around,
mhm.
but it's actually weight and it actually impacts our life. And so if there is a tool that we can use that can sort of take that, decades long worth of disagreement and resolve it in, under an hour, like
Uh-huh.
without arguing and fighting and raising our voices, like that's a big deal. Like that's a really big deal because it creates real change for people in their life.
Right. I really enjoy it. I love doing this because, typically when you have couple counseling or marriage counseling, it takes months if it works at all. And you know how they say sometimes things get worse before they get better. But when I
Yes.
when I get the opportunity to sit with a couple, when I leave, there is progress, resolution. They fix something. And I always encourage them to give me the hardest issue they've had for or the longest thing they've got going for decades, so that once I leave, they can handle the smaller issues. But I really like being able to get a resolution like right away in less than an hour. So it's
I
pretty
love
rewarding
that.
for me.
I love that. All of our listeners and myself were wondering, okay, Rod, well, how do we actually accomplish this? So your promise is bold, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
walk me through what actually is happening when people sit down to resolve a conflict, to play your game. Why be angry? How does it work? Why does it work so well?
So, uh, Dr. Z, I tell you, there are a bunch of reasons why it works so well, and most of them I wasn't even thinking about when I was putting this together. That's why I don't want to take credit for it. It just so
Divine
after
inspiration.
yeah, so after every game, I always ask the couple why after so many years, 25, 30, 40 years, sometimes just 5 years, are you able to settle this in 26 minutes, 35 minutes? And they've given me a bunch of different reasons. But I just think the game is structured. It provides a structure for the couple to communicate calmly and clearly so that they can hear each other. The game kind of forces
Mm,
your partner to hear you when they haven't been hearing you before. I sat with one couple down in Fort Myers, Florida, and they resolved 9 issues in one session with me. We played the game 9 times.
wow.
And after the fourth issue, the lady was like, I don't get it. Why is it working now? I said, what do you mean? She said, I haven't said anything they haven't said a dozen times before. And I said, well, April, you got to admit that if you're telling him something for the 20th time, he's probably, even though he may need to be corrected, he might feel nagged. So his wall is going up and he's not really hearing you. Or if you're telling them something for the 20th time, you're probably not saying it with the same tone and attitude you had the first time you told him. So again, his wall is going up, so he's not hearing you. So
Mm,
one of the things I hear most somewhere in the game, uh, steps 12 and 13, the couple, one of them will say, I feel heard. After 30, 40 years, she or it's usually she finally feels heard and the issue is resolved. So this is not the kind of game that you can win by yourself. The relationship has to win or you both lose. So it,
right.
it puts the couple on the same team. So since we're on
Yes.
the same team now, uh, you're not usually attacking your teammates. So no one is being attacked. So no one gets defensive and people just
Yes.
open up and they share and they listen. And, and people are more resourceful when they're happy.
Yeah.
If you go to ybeangry.com near the bottom of the page, you'll see a lot of hyperlinks. Whatever the title of that hyperlink is, that's the issue the couple is trying to resolve by playing the game. Should she initiate sex more often? Should we spank the kids? Should we split the bills 50-50? Just whatever the issue is. Um, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, you'll see the couple, you're going to see the couples laughing. There's no
Yeah.
jokes. There's no jokes in the game. There's nothing funny in the game. They're only laughing at what they said to each other, which never happens when you're having a heated argument, right? When you
Oh, no, it's loud.
right, right,
Sometimes there's some profanity
right,
scattered in there.
right. So now when they're happy and they're kind of having a good time talking about this, because the game somehow magically removes all the negative emotions, so
Mm,
you're able to talk. And you're just able to resolve the issue and you're listening. That's that's it.
I love that. I think, one of the fundamental things that we need as human beings that we don't get enough is that listening
Hmm.
part. and we forget. I mean, with technology and social media and our phones and things like that, like we don't even really listen to each other anymore. I catch myself all the time, right? It's like
Uh-huh.
my kid's talking to me, but I'm doing something else. So it kind of looks like I'm listening to what they're saying, but the truth is, if I'm really honest, I'm not paying attention to what
Yeah.
they're saying, or
Yep.
I'm not paying attention to what my husband's saying. And then that later on can create issues. So sometimes I have to be like, okay, wait 1 second. Let me just finish my thought here. And then I literally have to like look up, look over, make eye
Mhm.
contact and have the conversation. But we live in this virtual world now where something is so simple as looking at each other in the eye, listening,
Right.
right? Not speaking, but actually listening and trying to listen without a filter. Like it's, it's becoming a skill that is losing ground. That's kind of dying off. Like people are forgetting, like, oh, wait, that's an important human skill.
Right. So Dr. Z, I tell people that I didn't really realize this until um, sitting with people with this game that most people think they are good communicators, and
Mm,
we just aren't as we don't communicate as well as we think we do. A lot of people, they're able to articulate well, but they don't do the listening part well. To your point,
right.
they
Right.
don't hear and they don't seek to understand before they are trying to be understood first. And it's one of the reasons why the game works so well. Another reason, to your point, is the game makes the couple focus on one issue,
Mm,
and
mm.
they're focused on each other at this time. So when they sit down, the first step is they have to agree to resolve one issue, just one. Uh,
You mean not like the thing that happened like 4 weeks ago on top of that, that's like evidence to
right,
support like why something is bad and
right,
wrong? I mean,
right.
we all do it, right? It's like,
Yep, yep,
"Here, let's talk about what's happening, but let me bring everything from the past
right,
right into this conversation,"
right,
right?
right. So what I find, like that thing in the past, that's a whole new game. That's a different game. So the game
Mhm.
makes people focus on just one issue at a time. So
Right.
so like if it's should we spank the kids? Then that's the issue we're going to settle. And how they win the game is they agree yes or no. When the couple comes to
Right.
an agreement, yes or no, it's a win. So I never care whether they decide yes or no. I just want them to come to an agreement, because once they come to an agreement, once they're seeing eye to eye, it won't be a point of tension for the relationship anymore.
Yeah.
So now that they've
Yeah.
agreed on just this one issue, then they break that issue down into different details. They convert it into a yes or no question. Should we spank the kids? He says yes and she says no. And
Right.
this was one I did one time. And in the beginning, when I first created this, I used to say to myself, when a couple would tell me the issue, I'd be like, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to work," but it just works every time, Dr. Z. Their issue
Every time,
every
every single
every
time?
every single time. This their issue was, should we spank the kids, right?
Right.
It was a young African American couple, and they were engaged to get married, I think, like next month. So it
Mm.
was, should we spank the kids? He was like, I grew up getting my tail whooped. And the lady grew up, no capital punishment in the house at all. They were
Right.
far apart on this. And they had 4 kids. And I was like, oh man, I don't know how this is going to work. But that wasn't the kicker. The kicker was all 4 kids belonged to her. They were her kids. I'm like, oh man, how is he going to be, you know, whooping them or making her whoop them, and she's not even used to getting whoopings. I'm like, oh, but they knocked it out. They resolved it really, really quick. So I challenge anybody to bring in an issue that
Right.
the game won't settle. It just
Yeah.
works. It works every time.
Right, right. Well, I know the game doesn't tiptoe around even the loaded ones, right? Like give me some real examples. Like, should she initiate sex more often, right? Should he finally clean the bathroom? How
Uh-huh.
how does the game take like a charged topic and keep that topic from blowing up?
Like I said earlier, it just somehow magically removes the negative emotions from it.
Hmm.
If you watch my videos, I think I said in my TED talk, or I know I said in my TED talk that it was about 8 months after I had recorded my mom and dad playing the game because I knew they were not going to win. I just knew they were not going to win this game. It's my mom and dad. I've watched them
Yep.
for years, for 60
Yes.
years, but they
Yes.
won the game, and I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it, and it was then that I realized that no one when they're playing the game ever uses profanity or no one ever
No.
yells. So all these negative emotions, they're just gone. You're just talking to people. I mean, your partner, and it works. Should he clean the bathroom? Man, this guy for 20 years, this guy refused to clean the bathroom. He refused, and I'm like looking, oh man. And this was the second couple I'm sitting with. And when they said that, I was like, oh man, this was one of the ones I said, I don't know if this is gonna work. For 20 years, the guy refused. But so what happened was he grew up in a family of 4 and 5 ladies. He was the only guy. So the ladies
Hmm.
did all the housework. He took out the trash and did the yard
Yeah.
work. And that's it. That's
Right.
all he was doing. But but the lady saying, look, I come home, I have to do all this, and we have kids. Why can't you help me? By the time the game was over, he's like, I'm ready to go clean the bathroom. She's like, well, uh, the, the real test is now because it needs cleaning now. He's like, no problem. I'm ready to go. So it's just, I don't know what happens. I think something miraculous happens when people just sits down and actually listen to each other. But it works.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
one with a lesbian. You said some difficult ones. I did one with a lesbian couple, right? And
Uh-huh.
their issue was, should the stud carry the baby? I didn't even know what a stud was. I'm 60 years old, so
Right.
I didn't know the stud was the masculine one. And I'm saying to myself, well, heck no. That's why she's a stud. She don't want to do that stuff, but they knocked it right out. They just knocked it right out. It's just a matter of communicating. I tell people
Yeah.
there's no acupuncture going on, and I never have a dog in the fight. I'm never saying I'm not like a counselor where I'm saying, well, why do you feel that way or anything like that. My job when I'm coaching the game is I just make sure they're following the rules and they're staying focused. So for example, sometimes they may be trying to do step 8 when they're supposed to be on step 4. The
Right.
the the,
Right.
the game is really easy. It's 1 through 14 and the steps are color coded. But it may not be intuitive because we've been resolving or trying to resolve our disagreements a different way for 30 or 40 years. And so
Hmm.
the other thing I'll have to do sometimes is I'll say, wait, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know the background. I say, wait, are we still talking about this one detail? And sometimes they
Yeah.
say, oh, no, no, no. But a lot of times they'll say yes. And we'll just keep on going. And the game is over in
Yeah.
no time.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think it is miraculous, right? Because it is communication and it is like, it's become like this lost art.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about what you're saying and yeah, we're having the conversation right now in the context of couples and in relationships. But I mean, imagine if we took these skills and we put them on a global level, right? Where
Yeah.
governments spoke to each other.
Yeah.
Where like imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine if we didn't have social media spewing all this like whatever and we
Right.
sat down and we looked each other in the eyes and we realized like, you know what? You're human. I'm human.
Right.
We both really just want peace and happiness.
Hmm.
So how do we coexist in a way that brings peace and happiness to both of us?
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that, oh my gosh, when we can come to the table and we can unite, like we create something totally extraordinary,
Right.
right? And in this case, we bring peace to the family or peace to the relationship. But now you're bringing peace into the workplace too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't go home and isn't ticked off with their boss or the annoying coworker or the person who's not doing their job or what have you. So it
So,
creates a different context for people to live.
so Dr. Z, my approach to the workplace is a little different. Uh,
Yeah,
my thought is that most workplace stress doesn't start at work. It walks in every morning.
that's right.
So the example I like to use it is if
Baggage.
Susie comes to work, yeah, exactly. If Susie comes to work this morning upset because her man came in late again last night, she's probably standing at Beverly's desk complaining, and neither one of them are being as productive as they could be.
Sure.
Now, Susie can go through the EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program, and get, 3 to 6 weeks of couples counseling, but that's going to take 6 weeks. If Susie plays the game in less than 1 hour, this issue can be resolved and she can come to work the next day focused and ready to work. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to make a big difference with morale and in the end, production for the company and in the
Yeah.
end, production for the whole country. Because if once everybody starts feeling better, communicating better at home, and it doesn't just work for husband and wife. I've done it with moms and adult kids.
Sure.
I had a lady who was on the outs with her son for 10 years. He had blocked
Um,
her on his phone. And she called me for Thanksgiving. And I said, well, the main rule for the game to work is both people have to want the relationship to work. And since he's blocked you, I
sure.
don't know if that's the case. But if he calls me, but if he talks to me, I'll probably get him to play. And she said, well, we'll see. And then she called me after Christmas or New Year's, I don't remember, and said, hey, my son said he wished I was dead. And I was like, oh my goodness. So now she's ready to um, take, use my service. So the guy did talk to me. I sat with them and I coached them through the game and they finished up with I love yous and hugs and
Oh,
kisses. It was great. You just have to,
yeah.
there are three main rules. Both people have to want the relationship to work. They both have to be honest about what they're going to talk about. And the third
Right.
is they have to be able to count to 14. And
Yeah.
that's it. That's it. They both have to want the relationship to work because it's not the kind of game you can win by yourself. The relationship has to win or you both lose. And if a
Yes.
person doesn't want the relationship, they're not going to be encouraged to
Yes.
play right. And being honest, if you're not going to be honest, then no type of counseling is going to be fruitful long term, right? And
Right.
the 14
Right.
steps is kind of what I'm there for, just to make sure they follow the
Yeah. And
steps.
it's Yeah. Well, they need you to walk through the steps, right? Because
Yeah,
otherwise, I know sometimes my little brain is like all over the place. Well, can we
yeah,
skip a step? How can we be more but no, you got to like go
right,
through the process.
right.
So on this show, we talk constantly about what stress does to the body, right?
Hmm.
From waking up at 3 a.m. because your cortisol won't quit. What
Right.
what do you see unresolved conflicts? What do you see it doing to people physically when that fight just never ends? How do you see it impacting their life and their health?
Well, I can't. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really tell you about the health. But I know, for me, it it causes depression,
Yeah.
and all the side effects that come with it. If you're taking medicine for the depression, that those are going to have side effects. But the relationship just suffers when you're not talking. If you're
Mm,
unable to communicate your wants and needs, how can your partner make you happy? You know,
right.
the game, I just love it because instead of me saying to you, I don't know what your husband calls you, but if he says, Dr. Z, we need to talk, then you already know, oh man, you don't really want to hear this. But it says, hey, honey, let's play Why Be Angry. You remember you guys had fun last time. You had a resolution last time. You don't mind doing it again. Yeah.
Right.
My ex-wife said one time, she said, you know what? When people play this game, they should, maybe they should set aside a day like Sunday to just
Right.
to play, like date night. And
Yes.
and y- and it's gonna be. going to the movies is good and you can still do that, but resolving your issues is much more rewarding long term, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about being angry about something for 20, 30, 40 years or not feeling understood. See, I think people um when when two people have a disagreement, I think they grow apart just a little
Oh,
bit,
yeah.
because they don't
Yeah.
feel either they don't feel understood or they don't understand the other person. And then, like 10 years later, somebody say, "Hey, what happened to James? I thought you guys were great."
Yeah.
And you say, "Oh, we
Yeah.
just grew apart." And it didn't happen at the 10 years. It happened just a little bit, and it was all these little misunderstandings. Because I think when couples should play this game every little issue they have, because little issues permeate into the bigger issues in your life. You
Right.
know, yeah,
Right.
and sometimes people are fussing and don't know why. This lady's kicking her dryer or the wash machine, if that's the role that she plays, once or twice a week, and he comes home with a new power tool, and she's like, "You don't need that," and she don't even know she's frustrated because of the washer she just got through finished kicking. But if they
Mhm.
could
Mhm.
somehow talk about it and she feels better about it, or maybe even gets
Yeah.
the washer, then the issue will be resolved.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. Again, it comes back down to that listening.
right.
Yeah.
Plus, what about your kids? When you have kids watching, kids watch how you resolve your disagreements. And
Yes, they do.
and they'll bring that into their lives as adults or even on the playground, right? So, if they think screaming and yelling works, then that's what they're gonna do. So
Yeah.
if they see mom and dad um, talking through issues calmly, then we'll probably end up being a calmer society.
Yes. Yeah. It makes sense. And I know you talk in your TEDx talk, which we'll put a link, everyone. There'll be a link in the show notes so that you can listen to Rod's TEDx talk, which is it's just great. And of course, he's going through the conversation about sex in the TEDx talk, and that is a topic of conversation everyone is immediately enthralled with. So it's a
Yeah,
good one. But I know, you talk about like, hey, it's like, why be angry? We can actually, if we're not angry, we can actually be in a space where we're happy, we're joyous,
right,
where life is good. Like, what a different thing,
right,
right?
right.
What a different world that creates.
And we're much more patient. We're much more patient when we're not
Mhm.
angry, which means
Yep.
you're less likely to get angry. When you're already upset about something, it's hard to hear your partner and actually listen to them. And it's easier to get more frustrated with the things they do. So just being happy and not being angry and feeling good because you're in a situation where you understood, it's just beneficial for everybody. You mentioned the sex thing, and I've learned a lot. This this game has helped me so much. I've learned a lot coaching people with it. I didn't realize how similar guys were and how similar ladies were when it comes to these disagreements. Like these, should she initiate sex? That was the one that was most common game that people were playing. And I realized that, wait a minute, all the guys seem to be saying virtually the same things. Well, I want to feel wanted too. Why do I have to beg for what's mine? And just, stuff like this. And the girls are saying the same thing. I want to be ramped up. I want to be, uh, romanced, you know. Uh, oh, the big one is what does it matter who initiates it as long as it happens, But once they
Right.
talk and they get to understand each other, and he
Mhm.
realizes what he might needs to do to help her initiate it some more, and
Right.
just everybody's happier. Anyway, my point to that was if people watch, like if your listeners go to my YouTube channel and they see a title that they believe is relative to their relationship, they should watch that with their partner. And you can let another lady tell your man what you might not be able to articulate. And that guy might tell you what your guy might have been able to articulate to you. So you
Yeah.
can learn because we are actually pretty similar when it comes to the disagreements.
We are. We are. And what I hear you alluding to is that it really comes down to perspective, right?
Hmm.
It comes down to understanding that you and I we're looking at the exact same thing, but you're coming at it with a different perspective than, or he's coming at it with a different perspective than she's coming at it, and she's coming at it with a different perspective. But at the end of the day, kind of underneath that, the underlying motivation is the same,
Yeah.
right?
Well, a lot of times with the perspective, you don't understand the other person's perspective. You can't understand their point. So,
Right.
like the most important steps in the game, uh, in the Why Be Angry game is steps 4 and 5. That's where like if I tell you w- my detail that supports my yes or no, you have to repeat back to me what you believe I mean in your own words, and then ask me, is that right? Okay.
Yes.
That when that happens, then we can continue the conversation on the same page. A lot of times,
Right.
two relatively smart people or relatively intelligent people will find themselves feeling like they're talking to a brick wall. It's because they're not really
Right.
arguing about the same thing, you know. But
Yes.
here, it keeps them on the same page. It allows the first person to feel heard. Now they can hear you. And what I
Right.
really like is step 6. And the person who had to say, "Is that right?" He'll say, when he says, "Is that right?" He now has to say, "Is that detail true or false?" He or she, because
Mhm.
sometimes the detail or the fact that the first person mentioned isn't even true. So now that
Right.
we know you're thinking something that's not even true, let's talk about that. And once we settle that, then we probably won't have a disagreement. So
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we make assumptions about what things mean, and
Yeah.
that controls the argument, right?
It does. I mean, I think, Rod, we spend a lot of our time living in a story of what's happening in what we so call reality.
Hmm.
And then we think that the reality that we perceive is really real.
Hmm.
When really it's just our perception, and usually it has nothing to do with actual reality,
Right,
right? So
right,
it's like one person in the argument is saying, "Hey, listen, it's yellow." And the other person is hearing, "Hey, it's purple." And the other person's, "No, it's yellow." And like they're just not hearing because we come to the table with this filters, right? We come
right,
to the table with all of our baggage, right?
right,
It
right,
sits right in front of us, and everything that somebody else says has to get through that.
right,
On top of the question is, are we communicating effectively?
right.
Like, so now maybe we're not communicating at our best. Maybe we're not being specific enough. Maybe we're not really being detailed enough. Maybe we're not really communicating what it is that's truly happening for us because we're being polite, or we're not wanting to step on toes, or for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And then we got this like whole really thick filter that has to get through on the other side. Like we're talking about X and Y, right? You
Right,
say X, they hear Y, and you're like, it's like, well, where does the conversation
right,
go? No
right,
wonder why we're blowing up at everybody.
right. Like I said, most people we don't communicate as well as we think we do.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have these disagreements. So steps 4 and 5, when he has to repeat back to her what he believes she means in his own words and say, "Is that right?" You'll be
Yes.
surprised of the couples that said, uh, she might say, "Well, we communicate fine. He just," or he'll say, "We communicate fine. She just,
He
don't
just.
understand," or whatever. But when it comes to this step where they have to say, "Is that right?" They might have to do that step 5, 6, 7 times
Hmm.
to to get to where they understand what this person actually meant. And they've been together for 20 or 30 years. And they're not
Right.
angry. And they're not angry right now. Imagine being upset trying to understand what your partner means. It just doesn't happen. So when you come
Yeah.
and you actually sit down and get a good understanding, it's easier to be understood after that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what happens, it sounds like what happens in the process is you start to realize some of the filters and some of the perceptions and some of the, automatic responses we have towards, whoever the other person is we're working with. Like, I guess those start to become revealed.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are details that come out that the other person didn't know. And again,
Right.
so one of the reasons why the game works so well, because when it comes to communicating, it levels the playing field. So I believe in most relationships, one person is going to be more articulate, or one person is going to be more dominant, and they're
Yes.
more likely to get their points across in their everyday life with their partner and these disagreements, which leaves the other partner, you know, losing or kicking stuff under the rug, or not wanting to talk because they know they're going to lose. But
Hmm.
since all I have to do is say a point and you have to repeat it back to me and ask me, is that right? All I have to do is say
Right.
no. And then you
Yeah.
have to try to tell me again what you think it means. And if still not right, I just say, no, that's not it. So each person ends up getting each person ends up being understood before they move to the next step. So
Yeah.
it's just communication, good communication.
Yeah. Just good communication, just some good conflict resolution
Yep.
skills. Um, I like another part of your system as well. From what I gather, is there's a writing component before all of this even begins. Is that right?
W-
Walk
It,
walk us through, because I think that that is a powerful piece as well.
okay. So the writing happens along the way. It happens during. So what
Okay.
happens? What happens is the couple has to agree on one issue. This is how it goes. Let's say the issue is, should we buy a new car? Okay.
Right.
She wants a new car. He doesn't. So she says yes. He says no. Uh, the game is going to be won when they both agree yes or no. Okay.
Hmm.
So she believes yes. She has to write down all the reasons why she feels like she needs to buy a new car on one card. Just one detail. This car is ugly. That would be one card. This car is broken down 2 times in the last 3 months. That's another detail. Uh, I don't feel safe in this car. That's another detail.
Hmm.
He's going to write down the reasons why the answer is no. Um, my grandfather gave me this car, or if this car is old, if it breaks, I can fix it, right?
Right.
And or three, we can't afford a new car. Usually, the lady has more cards than the guys because you guys have more to say. So then, what they both do is they take each of their details and they number them uh, uh, in how relevant it is to the issue of should we buy a
Right.
new car? Well, we just can't afford it. That's a that's a 9. But since my granddad
Right.
gave me this car, that's the 10 for me, and I can fix it. Let's say that's a 5. Her issues might be her issues were this car is ugly, and maybe that's a 8, and this car's broken down 2 times in the last 3 months. That's 9, and I just don't feel safe. That's her 10. So what they do is they take this one issue that's made up of these 6 details, sometimes it's 12, 13 to 14 details, and they put them all together and stack them in order of importance. And they're going to talk about the most important detail first and set all the others aside. And the
Mm.
10 happened to be her, I don't feel safe. So now they're going to take she's going to take this detail and say, and follow the steps. She's going to say, I don't feel safe. And that's a 10 to me. And on the back of the card, steps 4 and 5, she will hand him the card. He's going to say, you don't feel safe in this car, so you think we should buy a new car. Is that right? And she'll say yes or no. And if she says yes, he goes on. Sometimes as simple as that, as simple as what I just said, she might say no. I, Sometimes it just blows me away. I'm a
You're like,
guy.
wait, what?
Sometimes it blows me away what the when when the guy says just what I think he should say, and the lady goes, "No, that's not it." I'm like, "Oh, But he gets another chance, and then he gets another chance, and finally he gets a yes out of her, and then he has
Mm.
to say, "Step 6, is this right? I mean,
Yeah.
is this true or not?" And he circles one, and then he has to say, "How important is this detail to him?" She said she wasn't
Hmm.
safe, and that was a 10. She didn't feel safe, and that was a 10 to her. Well, he's going to say,
Yes.
"Well, you don't feel safe." Well, that's a 10 to me. Now, what that does, it at least makes her feel like he cares about her concern, right?
Mhm.
And then he has to, the next step, step 8, he's going to write down his response before he says it to her. He writes it down. And what that does is slows the communication down.
Right.
It gives him a chance to think about what he's saying. Wait a minute, that sounds stupid. Or just think. And it gives her a chance to think too. And then he responds, then he tells her what he wrote, what he's written.
Right.
And
Right.
so now steps 9 and 10 are just like steps 4 and 5. She has to repeat back to him what she believes he means. And that's, is that
Right.
right? And once she gets it right, now I understand what you mean. You understand what I mean. Now let's talk about it. So steps
Yeah.
11, they have a focused discussion on just this feeling safe thing. We're not going to talk about it being your
Right.
dad's car. We're not going to talk about your granddaddy giving it to you or it breaking down or whatever the safe thing is. Once they've talked
Right.
about that and exhausted that, then uh, she's going to say something positive that she took from this interaction. And she'll start with, I feel better because that's written down. She'll say, I feel better because I know you, because you said me being safe is important to you or
Right.
whatever. So they're still
Mhm.
moving forward. And he's going to say, I feel better because I understand why you don't feel safe now because he didn't understand before. Then step 14, I'm sorry, and they both wrote that before they said it. So they both get a chance to think. And step 14, the last step, is made up of two two separate steps. The first one is they have to both agree, was there any progress at all with this one card? Just any.
Mhm.
Most of the time the
Yep.
answer is yes. It's almost yes.
Yeah.
We made a little progress or we made a lot of progress. And the second part is, was there enough progress on this first card to resolve this issue? And 90% of the time the answer is yes. And the game is over right there. Because we talked about the main reason why this is an issue, the
Right.
main detail
Right.
that why it was an issue, and we settled it.
Right.
And all the other little things really don't matter. We'll talk about them for full disclosure, and
Yep.
this is good because I'll pick up the rest of my cards, and I'll tell you all the other reasons why I thought it was no. And if you want to say something, you can. You're going to tell me all the other reasons why the answer is yes, and that's so helpful because a lot of times what happens in arguments, I think, is we'll have an argument and it's settled. Tomorrow you'll come to me, you know what, and another thing. And I'm like, I thought we settled this. And
Right.
now
Right.
I'm feeling
Right.
nagged. But
Yep.
see,
Yep.
but
Yep.
since you got it all out yesterday when we were feeling good and you had time to write them down and all this stuff, it's all out. It's
Resolve.
over. And it's
Yeah.
nothing else to talk. And I was able to, respond to all of your concerns.
Yeah.
So you felt
Yeah.
heard about all of those things, and it just works.
Yeah. Well, we're meeting that basic human need, right? So as human beings, what we really need is to be seen
Yeah,
and heard.
yeah,
And when we're seen and we're heard, then we experience life very differently.
right.
Right? It's like we're walking through life feeling valuable, feeling
Yeah,
important, feeling loved, feeling cared for.
especially by
And
the person that's most important to us.
yeah,
That really
yep.
helps.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Well, I can't wait till this goes global and we
Yeah,
can, I'd like to see you lead the world there in conflict resolution for the governments and the world at large. Maybe we can clear up all the nonsense that's
yeah,
going on out in the world
yeah,
today. That would be
yeah.
amazing.
I'm hoping it.
Amazing.
I'm hoping it. This process goes viral because once you learn how to play the game, Dr. Z,
Mhm.
you don't have to play the game anymore. Remember, I said the most important questions
Right.
are steps 4 and 5. So
Right.
if he comes in and says something that irritates you, if you and I make the couple say, so what you're saying to me is,
Mhm.
I insist that they use those words. So if he comes in and says something that kind of frustrates you or rubs you wrong, and you say, so what you're saying to me is, what that does, it puts you both in the mindset that we're on the same team here. I'm just trying to understand you and what just happened. So that person's not doesn't have to get defensive. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so
Yes.
and you just work
Yes.
things out a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. We're on the same team. We're
Right.
we're all on the same team. That's the place to really begin to start with the
Hmm.
people in your life,
Right.
right? Oftentimes we don't realize we're on the same team until something tragic happens and then we're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, wait, I missed all of it."
Yeah.
And so I really love the work that you're doing and this gift that you know divinely inspired you're bringing out into the world because it's so pivotal and it's so
Hmm.
crucial, and in a world where we've forgotten how to communicate, it's time to really bring it forth. So before we wrap up here, Rod, can you, if you had to like summarize maybe the top 1 to 3 things that our audience needs to begin to do in their communication so that they can, achieve that space of happiness versus anger, right?
Yeah.
Why be angry? What would you say?
So
How would you,
first,
how
I
would you coach them?
first I would encourage them to go to ybangry.com, and
Yes.
down just a little, you'll see a link, free tips on how to stop arguing. They click that
Perfect.
link and they give me just the first name and the email address, and I'll send them a short video of the 3 free tips. Basically, there are this one: don't try to resolve the issue while it's an issue, while it's hot. You know,
Hmm.
if your issue is him staying out too late or not picking up his clothes, don't say, "Hey," you know, when he just dropped them. Wait until
Right.
wait until you at least feel better and you can talk calmly. Because if you come at someone angry, then they have to get defensive almost. It's just a
They are.
natural
Yeah.
thing to do.
Hmm.
Uh the second thing is to uh get that person's buy-in, get their okay to talk about it. So once they
Right.
agree to talk about it and resolve it, then is more likely to be like, for example, if I'm watching the game and you're gonna come talk to me about buying a new car, I'm like, I'm trying to watch the
I'm busy.
game. I'm not really paying attention to you. I'm just
Right.
probably just saying, no, we're not buying a car. And I'm gonna be probably,
Yes.
you're gonna feel like I was rude about it, but you really came to me at the wrong time. You didn't get my buy-in.
Hmm.
But if you said, hey,
Yep.
let's play Rod, can we play Why Be Angry after dinner or Sunday? Sure. Now you got my undivided attention, and it's going to be easier to
Yes.
resolve whatever it is you want to talk about.
Mhm.
And the third thing is is being honest about whatever we talk about. What I find is when people play the game, I have some videos. I've sat with couples, and it's gone like an hour and 14 minutes, an hour and 24 minutes. One time, it went like an hour and 40 minutes, and my camera shut off. And it was like, you know, and what I learned was if people aren't honest, aren't forthwith, the game just stretches out. But if you just
Mm.
are honest and say what it is, we can talk. They talk about it right away because it'll be a 9 or 10, and it'll
Right.
be one of the
Right.
first cards instead of one of the last cards, and
Right.
and you resolve it right away.
Yep.
So you
Yep.
know, be honest about it, and it'll be okay. Everything works out.
Yep.
And the game takes care of all this stuff. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not being honest, that's kind of on you. But the
That's
game
on the
does
human.
right.
Yeah.
But the game does coach you through all those other steps. And
Yeah.
just don't be
Perfect.
ashamed to play and play about every little thing.
Right. 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 I love it. I love it. I love the whole concept of just bringing back communication, man. We can resolve. And I truly believe this no matter what it is, whether it's a conflict, whether it's an issue that we're having in our life, no matter what it is, as long as we can bring that communication to the table, anything can be resolved.
Right.
So really, really powerful. So thank you for bringing that into the world. And I'll have you repeat one more time where people can learn more about your work and where they can find you.
YBANGRY.com. Why be angry? There's some stuff there and there's some videos there. And then also have a YouTube channel. You just search Why Be Angry, YBANGRY, and just watch a bunch of videos.
I
You
love it.
you can order the game and you can order the book, and yeah. And if you need
Great.
coaching, there's a link on my website where you can answer a couple of questions and get a free uh, 30-minute consultation.
Perfect.
Okay.
That way you can be guided through the process if you're super hot.
Right. Right.
That anger level is real high. You
Uh-huh.
get some neutral party in there. I love that. Rod, thank you for the gift that you're bringing out into the world and everyone. Why be angry? Jump in, engage in that resolution, and step forward in your life with peace, joy, and happiness. Your body, your mind, and your health will thank you. And with that, everyone, I'll see you next time.
All right.
This is Dr. Z reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace your journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.